Guys, I bought something. So now it's time to get the mini skid off the trailer because tomorrow we're going to pick up the Mini X. All right, we're here at the auction yard and just gonna look at some of these different models. So the one I got is down there by my dad. So this is the MX12R. And overall, it's pretty much the same. These controls right here are a little bit different, but that's really the only thing I see that's different other than the stamping. No, I'll take that back. There's some foot pedals. And I'm assuming this foot pedal probably controls the auxiliary hydraulics. Let's go to some more comparable models. Here's one, DM12C, hydraulic thumb. This one, that boom swivels. 2 foot pedals. I like the layout a little bit better on the controls. This one also went for about, I don't know, 750 to 1,000 more. There's the one we're picking up, manual thumb. I don't like the controls on this as much as the other ones, but it's also cheaper. I think this was an NT, let's see here, NT18K. And I'm pretty sure this one was 2,000, maybe even more than the one I got. Here's another one we can look at. This is the H15R. I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually like this one. I like that these controls are up here by the seat. It's got a sight glass. Mine's got a sight glass too, but I can tell you that this one has a little bit more mass than the one I'm getting. There's definitely gonna be more weight on this one. Looks like the boom right here is a little bit heavier too. Yeah, I like the H15 pretty well. All right, but that's the one we're bringing home. We're gonna load it up right now. All right, we got the WH12R loaded in the trailer. We've got 4 points where it's strapped down, as well as that bucket. Now this was already strapped, so I hadn't had a chance to actually test out the bucket, but we were able to drive it up here. The engine was a little bit cold-hearted, but it's been sitting here for who knows how long. But I think what we're gonna do now is, I don't know that that's rated for interstate speed, so it looks like there's 4 bolts that are holding that in. We're gonna remove that, put that in the back of the Expedition just to make sure nothing happens to it. And we also removed, there's like a little padded, like a mat. It's got Velcro on the back, but we removed that to make sure it doesn't fly away. And we're about to bring her home. All right, 331 miles later, we finally made it back with the little Mini X, and we're about to put the top back on and try to pull this thing off the trailer. Before I actually do any work with this thing, I'm going to do a good inspection because I'm pretty certain that there's some loose nuts, bolts, that kind of thing. We're also going to change the engine oil and hydraulic oil before we actually put this through any kind of testing. But we made it back. I've reinstalled that canopy top, and what this video is going to be is first impressions. I don't know that much about this machine, but what I am going to tell you is just my first impressions after looking this thing over. So let's start here on the bucket. As you can see, I'm going to get in just a little bit closer. I did have to try it out just for a second. So I used this for about 3 minutes, and I can tell you right off that I don't think this thing's going to have a problem digging. I think it's going to be just a beast when it comes to actually digging. However, it'll probably be slower than a name brand, maybe a little bit more rickety, jerky than a name brand. But as far as this bucket carving through the soil, I don't think it's going to have a problem. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to talk about some of the things right off that I noticed that I like and some things that I don't like. Again, I don't know that much about this machine yet, but here's what I've determined thus far. And I'm going to start off here at the rear of the machine. So, like I said in that video, the last video I made actually, the exhaust pipe does stick out just a little bit. I feel like that's a good thing, and it's going to keep the exhaust fumes out of the engine compartment. However, you know, could rainwater get in there? You know, I could be wrong. I think it's slightly down. So maybe it won't. But as far as accessing the engine compartment, there's two ways to access it. One, these 10 bolts, to me, they kind of look like a 10 millimeter. I have not taken those off yet. But if I want to get to the oil, which I'm going to do, I'm going to have to change the oil. That's how I would get down to that. The other access point is right here behind the seat. There's no latch or anything. You just push it forward. Okay, after pushing that seat forward, you can see we've got a decent amount of real estate in here. We've got a decent amount of real estate on the right-hand side. This would be underneath the throttle. If I were to install some sort of fan, that looks like an ideal place to do it. In particular, this round section right here. If I do that. I'm not sure if I will or not. On the left side, if I were to want to install like a hydraulic filter, because I don't see one readily, but it looks like I have enough space to do that. Of course, here's the hydraulic tank. This is where you would fuel up. And just a little note, I'm glad I brought a small tank of fuel with me, because this thing did run out of gas before I could get it on the trailer at the auction yard. So it's always a good idea to bring some. Now, I've told you this before, and I'll say it again. Anytime something's been sitting on an auction lot for 6 months, who knows? Who knows when the last time this thing ran? There's going to be some issues. So here's some of the things that I'm talking about. What do these go to? Can somebody tell me in the comments? It appears to be 3 female, like kind of the stud type plugs. But these are 3 females just kind of sitting here. I haven't went into the engine compartment and searched around. Here's another blade type. And I believe this one goes to the hour meter right here, which I can feel that there's that blade is empty. So that one probably just goes there. That's what I'm talking about. There's just stuff like this where it's just loose and not completely done. The throttle feels very loose, like unusually loose. The ignition key, like the base, was loose. But I mean, that was easy stuff. I just tightened it by hand. Here's something else I noticed. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on this. There's 2 O-rings, and these O-rings are dry rotted. And that's supposed to keep the water out of the hydraulic tank, which I'm happy there's a sight glass. Okay, so I mean, those are just kind of things right off that I noticed, just imperfections. As far as the controls go, now there's some other models that we saw over the auction yard that I like the control layout better than this. But then again, they went for about $1,000 more than I paid for this too. So these are your tracks, forward and back. That's for your blade. This would be for if I put a hydraulic thumb on there, which I want to do. And these are for the bucket and arm. Now, overall, somewhat smooth. Now, the up and down, this would be the up and down, this direction, incredibly jerky. I don't know why it's so jerky, but it is way more jerky than any other movement is the up and down of the boom. Okay. All right, so I'm going to continue on here. I already talked about, I'm glad it's got a hydraulic thumb, a sight glass. Something else that I really like about this is right here, track adjustment. It's not the grease type. My LRT23 has the grease type track adjustment. It works, but man, what a pain whenever you got to change a track. So I'm curious if that's better or not. Leave me your thoughts on that if you know. There's just some of the specs. Looks like 845 kilograms is the load. I'm assuming that's the weight. Blade in the front, it feels very sturdy. I mean, it's got some curve to it, so that adds some strength. There is on the back There's some bracing on the back. And a little bit of extra metal on the side, so I like that. Working our way up the arm. Let's look at this arm. And I want to show you something that I really appreciate about this versus some of the other machines that I noticed actually. And look at the tolerance. Very little tolerance between there. This is a better view right here actually. I'll try to hold the camera still. But that's nice. That's nice that there's not like a 3/8 inch gap where this thing's going to be jiggling around, because I just now noticed that on my LRT23 when I was editing a video. Now there's no grease in here. I don't see a drop of grease in any of these fittings, but we're going to take care of that. We're going to grease these. All right, it does have you know, the standard light. It looks like we have, let's see, actuator on top, actuator on top. This one, however, is below. I did a little test with a bucket. The bucket won't come back and hit that. Now, if I grabbed a hold of a very wide object and then brought it back, there's a chance it could hit it, I suppose. All the lines seem to be ran neatly. And let's see here. Might need to put some chafing protection right there. But that's the only place initially that I see that I might need to put some chafing protection. Granted, I hadn't opened that up. All right. Out here on the back, I forgot to mention this. This is some sort of cast iron, cast metal of sorts. I'm feeling underneath. It's pretty thick. It's actually thicker if you grab that underneath. There's a lot of meat there. It kind of tapers up as you go up towards the top. But I'm sure that adds a substantial amount of weight. But overall, I like the thing. I think it's going to do great. It's just going to be very jerky, very slow. And look at that, guys. QC pass. I think they all have that sticker, though. All right, guys, tell me what you think. Did I overpay, underpay? Is it spot on? So what I'm going to do in a later video is I'm going to change the oil and hydraulic fluid in this and actually grease all the fittings. I don't want to put this thing through any rigorous testing until I get that done, because just my own personal feelings, I don't know that I can trust what fluids or lack thereof that are in there. So I'm going to leave it at my little 3-minute test that I did. And then on a later date, we'll be putting this thing through several tests to see, is it worth it? Is it a good machine? And once I learn more about this, I'll do a complete, full overview, and I'll give every detail that I know about this machine and have learned about it. That way you know. And like I said before, if nothing's wrong with this major that I got to fix, hydraulic thumb is going to be coming in later on. Okay, guys, well, that's my first impressions. All the things that I noticed right off that I did like, and the things I noticed right off that I didn't like. Let me know in the comments, what are the things that you noticed that you like and didn't like about this machine? Let me know. That's it for this video. And as always, thanks for watching.